at another opportunity. I can't remember. I think it was with Tandra.
It was with Tandra. That is
Tandra,
correct.
yes. Shout out to Miss Tandra.
Hey,
Had
Tandra.
the opportunity to speak on one of her platforms, and me being who I am, I think I went in on a couple. I went in,
You
and
did.
we just. And for those of you who understand what that term "went in" means, I went in, and so I had the opportunity to share that stage and space with MM, and we had a couple of quick conversations after that, and just knew you were a warm heart, a warm spirit, and a consummate leader. And I knew if I ever had a platform, I
Mm,
would have you on that platform. So here we are. I have the pleasure of hosting you. Welcome to our show. We're so glad to have you again.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Tell us about how you became a speaker. What is your story? It's not every day we meet people who do TED Talks, right? That's kind of the apex. That's the creme de la creme of speakers. But how did you get here? How did you start to own your voice? What's your story?
Oh, I love it. I love every piece of that question. And
Come on.
and I think I'm here. What the short answer is, I believe every one of us has a story. And
Yeah.
every one of us has a story that needs to be shared with somebody or needs to be shared with several people. For me, speaking has always been something I enjoyed doing. But early on, whether it was in my elementary, middle school, high school, college, even, and even in law school years, I really didn't know that that was something I could do for a living. I really didn't know that that was something that I could make money, make a living, I knew the impact that speaking does because hearing different speakers over the course of time, I knew the impact they had on me. But not knowing how to transform that into a career, into something that I do for the rest of my life, something that I enjoy doing and being able to do it. So let me just share my TEDx story real quickly.
Before we
So
get into TEDx, there's more to that than what you're giving us. So
yeah, well,
there's
so
some that you sweat, dog. We want the meat, honey. Don't give me cream. I want meat
well,
because I want to know how you got to your voice. And what
yeah,
I mean by
okay.
that is, how did you own your identity? Because your purpose and your mission is
Mm,
showing women how to own ours.
yeah,
I want to know,
yes.
sage, midwife, come on, coach to the stars.
All
How
right.
do you own yours?
You know what? When you said digging deep, you weren't kidding. You just dug deep. Okay.
Come
So
on.
I'll share this part of it then in answer to that, and thank you for bringing that up. So I practiced law for 18 years. From 2002 was when I got my law license. 3 years in, I realized um, that this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I said 3 years in, and then I also have said that I've been practicing for 18 years. So what kept me stuck in that place? And I'm not saying that practicing law is a bad thing. It is not. It has provided for my family and myself all these years. And I know many great attorneys who are doing good in the world. But for me, it wasn't something that fulfilled me and just brought me the utmost joy, which was speaking. But I stayed in that for so long because of the whole thing with mindset and wondering what would people say. My colleagues, what would they say? You want to leave law for what? For to speak, to sing,
What's that?
to write, right? Like you want to trade certainty, and I put that in quotes. You want to trade certainty for uncertainty. You have this steady check. This is a stable career profession. You want to leave this and go to that. Nobody said that to me, but this is what I had in my mind that people would say. My family, my friends, just what would people think of me if I left? And so I continued to stay. And then, you know, later on, like within the last 3, 4 years, first of all, let me say that my last day working as an attorney was August 2020, right smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. I said, okay, this is it. I'm done. I'm going to pursue my dreams. The same thing I encourage my clients to do, I'm going to do it full time. But in the meantime, before that time, I found a way to combine both. I found a way to work my law job during the day, and then in the evenings, on weekends, I would pursue my passions, write my music, coach my clients, write my books, doing all those things. And I got to a place where I was like, okay, I can do this. I can stay in this place and just juggle both. But God had something else in mind, and he let me know pretty quickly that, okay, now is the time. And he gave me several confirmations that checked with me, and I have not regretted making that decision. I bring that up because during that time, I took so many, you read my bio, I'm a personal development junkie. I believe in growth, whether it's through books, conferences, coaches, courses. And so I've invested a lot in courses and conferences and coaches over the years. And one of the things that was missing for me, I had brilliant coaches. They are still brilliant. But for me, there was this whole piece that was missing where I was trying to make myself fit into what everyone else was doing, right? What everyone else was doing. Oh, a lot of people in the program are business coaches. Well, what kind of business coach can I be? Oh, a lot of people are marketing gurus. So I was doing all the things, but I didn't take the time to discover and connect with who I am and how I show up. And once I did that process, I came up with this framework. Once I went through that process, it freed me completely. And so that is, it was a very transformational experience. And that's the experience I want to help people do. Like, you can do all the things. Yes, you're gifted in different areas, but which one lights up your soul? Which one are you called to do? And who are you? Who is it that which you shows up?
Look, quit being schizophrenic.
Right.
And I'm not just, and I'm not being
Yes.
insensitive there, but really.
Yeah.
So I want to go back because this is so important for people to understand and know what validates you to be the success coach you are. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You've had to walk your own talk.
Yes.
That's the part that you've had to walk out your own talk, right? And so you talked about knowing 3 years in, this wasn't the path for you. And it took until 2020 for you to make the final cut. Talk to us about the double, because scripture tells us that a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways.
All his ways.
So what could have been accomplished then? And I don't believe that anything is wasted. I really don't. There's a friend of mine who has that saying. She says, nothing gets wasted. Even in those times when we think we're just kind of marking time, nothing gets wasted because we learn something about ourselves, God, our faith, all of that kind of happens even when we're marking time.
Yes.
What did it take for you, though, to finally embrace your own identity? Because yes, you're a great attorney. And you said, you had gone into these places and maybe I should fit in this model. Maybe I should fit in this model. But it's kind of like the three little bears. And I know this is going to sound crazy. This is too hot. This is too cold. But this is just right.
Right.
What happened to really launch you into your path that was tailor-made for you? What had to happen for you to cut your ties and say, okay, enough is enough of straddling the fence with my call, with my passion, with enough of that. I'm going all in. And I have this saying, I bet on me. If I'm ever going to bet, if I'm ever going to gamble, and I'm not a gambling woman, but if I'm going to gamble, I'm going to always gamble on me. What was the defining moment for you that said, enough is enough, I'm going all in?
Whew. Now that's a loaded question. I'll say,
I want a loaded answer.
There wasn't, so for me, that moment was actually a series of moments.
Okay.
So the first thing for me, when I was writing my book, I was writing my first book, and so I became an author by taking part of an anthology. And during that process, and initially I did not want to do that. I was like, no, my first book, I want it to be all mine. I don't want to be in it with other co-authors. But then I'm glad I made that decision. So I did that. And then I was working on my book, which during the process of that, it took me back. It's not an autobiography, but I did share pieces of my story. And it took me back to being in 8th grade and what I call going into hiding, where I hid for years. I hid who I truly was because my family had just moved here. I was born here in the US, but we moved back to the US when I was in 8th grade. And I came with an accent, and I came with really dark skin, and I came with just being different. And it was not received well. And so I went into hiding. Figuratively, I changed my name. When people asked my name because they couldn't pronounce MM, I said my name was Amy. I worked on my accent. I did all the things to just fit in. And so that's what I mean by went into hiding. And that I carried on with that, even though over the years I shared a little bit more of myself with certain people. But the real authentic MM, I didn't know who she was until I was writing that book. And I was like, there's just, this is not, who am I? Miles Monroe, the late,
One of
great
my favorites.
Monroe, I'm telling you, that he talks about the questions that we all must answer. And one of them is, who am I? And so I really, during that time, once I realized that, the real me, who out there can say they know the real me?
Oh my God.
So once I
That
realized,
self-discovery, though, is
yeah.
something that leads to effective coaching and powerful speakers, right? We
Right.
can't have people who don't authentically know who they are trying to lead people to become who they're supposed to be. At the
Exactly.
beginning of this segment, I called you a midwife by inspiration.
Woo! I got goosebumps then and now.
Because it really is guiding people through to the birth of who they are. And being able to communicate that as a speaker is a gift. It's a gift to be able to say, this is authentically me. All of my history, my experience, my power, my challenges,
Yeah.
my fears, my triumphs, all of it. And all of it comes through to you in the spoken word. And, for those who are in the Hebrew faith or just the Christian faith, we know that life and death is in the power of the tongue. We've heard that scripture before, right?
Yes.
And so to be able to communicate, this is authentically me. I share that with you and you absorb that. And then you give me something back that's authentic. It's a powerful exchange. You said something though, and it took me back to an experience I just recently had. And I wonder, how many women around the world are waiting for the experience that only you can give? For years, I too was trying to fit into this mold of what a business leader looks like or sounds like.
Right.
And if anybody knows me for any length of time, I don't fit. I just don't. I just don't. Look, you see me later. I don't fit. I
Leave
don't fit.
it.
And so I wonder then how many women who are waiting to step into their power, and men for that matter, we don't want to exclude them, but you said your audience is women. How many leaders are waiting to emerge who just need a midwife or who needs permission or validation? And people say, well, I don't need permission, but somebody is waiting on you to say, yeah, you can do that. I see you.
Yes.
That who you are is genius. Who
Yes.
you are is enough, and not just enough, girl, you more than enough. You're worthy. How many people are waiting to hear those words? And the
Absolutely.
blessing is that you could tell yourself, and then you emerge. You didn't have to wait for somebody to tell you. You could tell you. Talk to us about the power of then embracing who you really are. What did that do for your speaking career?
Wow. Yeah. What did it do for my life?
Come
I
on.
mean, it freed me up. I mean, there's such liberty in just being you, just being who you are, your quirks, your flaws, your successes, your wins. You know, some of us are hiding, and when I say some of us, I'm myself, my old self is in that too. Some of us are hiding, you're hiding your genius. You're hiding your brilliance because you want to fit in, or it might be uncomfortable, or people might not embrace you if you really show who you are. Some of us are hiding our talents, our gifts. I mean, so that it freed me up to just to just be, and then to go on and achieve and pursue and achieve the goals that I had for myself, dreams that I had for myself that I had put on the back burner during those 18 years. You know, I went back. When I say I went back way back to the little girl who said, you know, I know, I didn't know why or how I knew, but as a child, and I know that I'm not the only one. I know because I've met people who say that. I've worked with people who have said this, that at an early age, you just knew that you were here to do something, to have an impact on this earth. And then as life happens, you know that what you're doing is not what you're supposed to be doing, or
Yeah.
that's not it. And so, you know, I went way back to that girl, and then I went to God, and I was like, you know, show me me, show me me, show me the me that you have called me to be. And you know, as I tell you, I released my CD in 2017. This is something I had worked on since 2006. I wrote out the songs. I met with the producer, and I was even shaking to meet with the producer, but he loved the songs, which that was my fear. And then we recorded 2 songs in maybe 2008, maybe 2010. We recorded 2 songs somewhere in there. And I just sat on those songs. I didn't do anything with them. And then in 2016, I just got this nudge, like, what are you going to do with those songs? When are you going to create the whole album? And I got the nudge to set a date and put that out there. I did that, and then released the CD in 2017. I'm so excited with how it was received, but more importantly, what that did for me, and I think that this happens for all of us, once you just achieve something, then
Yeah.
it opens up, it gives you permission to pursue other things. And that was, you asked earlier what, I can't remember how you asked it, but what was that moment? So for me, it was after I had released this CD and done what I felt I was called to do in that season, it freed me up to be like, okay, I don't have to hide that I want to be a singer-songwriter from my lawyer colleagues or from my professional colleagues or whatever. I can do the things I want to do. And so it was a series of things, and that was one of them.
So it's about being too multidimensional, right?
Yes.
Absolutely multidimensional, unapologetically multi-talented and multifaceted.
Yes.
Um, I think I hear something budding here. Maybe we need to collaborate on this. But the birthing of a speaker,
Mm.
it's not always about the technical training. So
Yes.
much of the work is done with identifying you
That is
and
it.
what's your voice, what's your story, what's your narrative. I really think you should develop that, and we should collaborate on that. That's
It's
a whole nother, that's a whole nother conversation,
that,
right?
I'm open to that conversation for sure. It's
I'm
funny
telling you
because that is
that
what I'm working. I'm
That
working
right,
on something like that around voice. Absolutely. Yeah.
that's gold. That's gold, to be able to walk people through that, because so much of speaking is self-discovery. If
Yeah.
you're really going to master it, the Tony Robbins of the world, the Les Browns of the world, the Washingtons of the world, it's
Amen.
been about owning your voice, right?
Yeah.
The Charity Smiths of the world,
Yes.
owning your voice, what makes you uniquely you. And then unapologetically, you mentioned Miles Monroe, who is one of the best of
Yes.
all time, as far as I am concerned.
Same.
And so much of what he talks about is identity and mindset and becoming who you were created to be and
Yeah.
not what you were labeled to be. We have literally 10 minutes here. How did this awakening of you lead you to TED Talk?
Yeah. So, so I watched my first TED Talk in 2013. So I was a little late to the whole TED party. Apparently other people had been seeing TED Talks prior to, but somebody shared a TEDx talk with me, um, given by a man named Kobam Sasuko. He's Nigerian and he's blind. And his talk is titled The Gift of Blindness. When I tell you that I watched this thing and wept and laughed, I mean, the emotions that arose in me, just the fact that his talk, TED Talks are no more than 18 minutes. A short talk could have that much impact on me. I was like, what is this TED thing? And how can I, participate? And at the time, when I looked, I saw that, it seemed like famous people. Like, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not famous. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a nuclear physicist. I'm just me. So, even though I
I'm
wanted
just
to
a
do
fabulous attorney. I'm just a songwriter.
it, well, I appreciate that. But in my mind, I was like, well,
I'm just a best-selling author.
I wasn't. This was 2013.
Okay. To
So
be.
to be, amen. Didn't know it. But then it awakened. When I tell you that once my CD was released, it released dreams in me that, it rebirthed those dreams in me. And so I began to say, okay, well, I did this CD. What else can I do? Okay, I'll become an author. I'll write my books. Okay, now I've done this. What else? What's next? TEDx was next. And I applied my first time. I didn't get accepted. And I applied again and I got accepted. And my dream stage was in London. So I flew myself to London in 2018, gave my talk, had a fabulous time. I mean, it was a dream come true. And then when my talk was released last year, oh, so no, that was 2019, sorry. So when my talk was released last year in 2020, people started reaching out to me. How did you do it? Could you coach me? Could you, and that wasn't on my radar to do. I'm a success coach, a success strategist. I want to help people identify their voice, whether that's in speaking, writing, just so I own their identity. And but with all the inquiries, I felt called to create something for TED, for those that want to speak on the TED stage. And so that's what I'm doing in this season.
Talk about a global impact with a voice.
Mm.
That's really what I heard you say. It's about making global impact. One woman on a stage who knows who she is,
Yeah.
unapologetically sharing that voice, has made global impact.
Yeah.
Let's say you had the opportunity to sit in the room, a beautifully decorated room, and you're just one on one with a woman who is where you were, the former you. Oh, that's even scratch that question. You have the opportunity to talk to the old you.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, you knew I was going there, right?
Yes.
MM today, speaking to MM, the eighth grade girl.
Mm.
What pearl of wisdom would you tell MM, the successful TED Talk global impact speaker? What would you say to the eighth grade little girl just waiting to bud and blossom?
Mm. What would I say? That those last three words you said, bud and blossom. I think I think I would lead with those three words. The blossoming of you is in owning who you are. God did not make a mistake when he created you, little mm. He did not make a mistake. He never makes mistakes. And so everything that he has given you, he has made you to be, bloom, bud, blossom into that. And don't try to be anyone else. And don't go into hiding.
Woo!
Mm.
So I have on fake lashes and I'm about to lose them. Look, I'm blinking trying to keep the water in my eye.
Oh, I love your humor with
Girl, I can't lose my lashes on TV.
Oh.
But I applaud you. I absolutely applaud you. The woman that you are today, but the courage and the absolute dogged tenacity to fight for your right to be. Because really, that's what this is. It was your dogged courage and tenacity to fight for the courage and the right, divine right, to be all that the Father dreamed you would be, created you to be, but then to all that you dreamed you could be.
Yes.
How many of us, and I think it was Miles Monroe who said this, how many of us die and go unfulfilled? He said the graveyard is the richest place on earth.
Absolutely.
Because people went to the grave with their gifts, their talents, their voice, their calling. The earth never got a chance to hear them or know them.
Yeah.
But here you are, a woman of Nigerian descent, an American woman of Nigerian descent, who has had this interesting and compelling story, right? About being an 8th grade girl. And we talk about colorism and we talk about immigrating to the United States and the harshness of that. But then the courage to say, okay, fine. But there will be a day when I show up.
Yes.
There will be a day. And even though you said you went into hiding, I don't know if it was hiding or you went into creative mode. Wow. Right? Did you go into evolutionary mode? Wow. It's kind of like the caterpillar, right? In the cocoon.
Right.
I don't know if you went into hiding, my dear. It was more so for me. Did she go into the cocoon and just do the work? Right? Go into the cocoon, because that's where the butterfly is made. It's in the cocoon.
That's
doing the work.
Come on.
Doing the work. Come on. I'm getting chills talking to you. You bring out the preacher in me. You bring out the preacher. But how many women need that story? Yeah. Right?
Right.
Whether, regardless of where and how you've come in life and what your story is, you could have easily rested on the laurels of, I'm a successful attorney, snub your nose and say, well, fine. I'll be this superficial veneer. It's comfortable and I'll fit in this mold. But there's a certain courage it takes, to walk away from a successful law career. And the society and the all of the perks, let's just be honest, the perks and all of the accolades that go along with that, and say, I'm going to step into what could be the great unknown, and I'm going to gamble on me.
Yes.
I'm going to gamble on me. Honey, there is a courage. Pardon me for calling you honey, but no disrespect there. No, there is a courage and a tenacity and a boldness and a fire and a resistance. Come on, because I'm a political science major. I'm all about the resistance. There is a resistance to fight for the right to be.
To be, yeah.
Oh my God, I could talk to you all day, and we know that probably can't happen, but I could. I could really talk to you all day. Leave people with now, how do they contact you? Because getting to TEDx stages, there's a formula to that success. That success doesn't just happen. And having the right, and we just have a few seconds up, having the right coach to get us to those stages makes all the difference in the world. So now that we find our voice with our one-on-one coaching sessions with you, look, I'm throwing out all your, Now that we've had a chance to have mentorship with you, how do you matriculate a speaker to a TEDx stage? Couple of seconds, go.
Okay, so a couple of ways. I have a course that you can work on your own, or you can work one-on-one with me. And I also can help you with just the application process or the full process from your pitch to crafting your talk to beyond the talk, leveraging that talk to land wonderful opportunities like being here on Miss Mogul's Mogul Talk show.
Awesome. How do people contact you directly to work with you?
Yes, you can just send me an email. I read every email, and my email address is mm@mmwashington.com, and that's spelled EMEM at mmwashington.com.
Absolutely. We're at the end of our show, but I promise you, we've run out of time. We have not run out of content, love, or conversation. We have not.
Yeah,
I think you are just a stellar woman. And
yeah.
now that I know more of your story, I celebrate you even more. You're a special lady, and the world is a whole heck of a lot better because you decided to show up.
I thank you. I thank you so much for using your platform the way that you do. I thank you for the honor of being here, for your positive words over my life, over the lives of many. And I just pray that your business continues to bloom and blossom and impact the world as it already is doing. Thank you so much, Charity.
Love you for that. And y'all, I didn't even pay her for that one. I didn't pay her for that one. But I'm honored. I'm honored to have you here and to share this space with you. Thank you so much. Thank all of you who decided to join us today. This has been Mogul Talk. I have had a wonderful time with the stellar leader, Ms. M.M. Washington, extraordinaire. I hope you have learned from her story that you're possible. The title of the show today was Why Not You? We want to end it with You're Possible. So make sure that you reach out to the stellar leader, connect with her, hear about how she can help matriculate you through the evolution of your story and how to get you to those TEDx stages. I really recommend that you work with her. Thank you again, MM, for being a guest on my show. Thank all of you for tuning in. Stay tuned for another segment of Mogul Talk. Bye-bye for now.